It's time to welcome our Shadowgram speaker, David Levy. He's ready to go. I'm very lucky to have him here. I'm looking forward to hearing him.
I guess after a lot of us have been here for so many years, we're getting a little tired. Every year we pack up, check the weather forecast. More recently, come anyway because there's something magical about Stellafane, something magical about this place that draws us here. And that magic crosses the generations. So let's go back to the first generation, that of Russell Porter. Russell Porter was driving up to Breezy Hill in 1925, and it was one Sunday afternoon, and he met the parson, the pastor. The pastor said, "Certainly, Mr. Porter, you're going to church." And Russell Porter turned to him and said, "Mr. Pastor, I'm going to my church." And he headed out here to Breezy Hill. And he built the Pink Clubhouse. That was, those of you who have seen the Pink, you know how proud he was and how proud the group back then was of that clubhouse. And how many years it was used. When I started coming here in 1971, it was much too small to be used as a meeting place during convention. So we met outside. We had a little amphitheater set up right in front of the Pink Clubhouse, and all of the major events were done there. And then more recently, they were done here at an amphitheater right over there until this year. This year, we're doing it here in our new building. Russell Porter tonight would be so proud of all of you who gave of yourselves financially, with sweat, with tools, to build this building. This is an extraordinary building. And right now, if you listen closely, you can hear Russell saying, "You've done good." Thank you. But it's not just the wood and the stones and the metal and the nails and the design that went into this. A lot of it is financial these days. Russell Porter had a good opportunity. He was able to visit his friends in Springfield and say, "I need some paint." He says, "Well, do you care what color it is?" "No, I'll give you the paint for free if you don't care what color it is." That's how we have the Pink Clubhouse. Life isn't quite the same these days. Post 9/11 maybe? I don't know. But you just can't do that. There are ways to get things that way, but it's not quite the same that it was in 1925. Today things cost money. And we heard earlier that there was something like a $60,000, $70,000 bill that's due, and there's a mortgage for this amount. So while I'm giving the Shadowgram tonight, these are they. Let's hand around these. Let's not tell anyone on the committee. Okay, there's a secret. This is just us, Chief and me. And let's try to cut down that $60,000, $70,000 bill a little bit. Start over here, but don't tell the committee. And then there's one on the other side. Let's see, during the Shadowgram and during the talk to follow, let's see how well we can bring this down now that we have a building. Incidentally, we didn't get a pink building, but we did get a building that was guaranteed to stop the rain. All we had to do was close these doors for a few minutes. Did it rain? It worked. It worked. Generations come and generations go, but the earth endures for whatever, it says in Ecclesiastes. And I think that as we were listening to the absolutely magnificent and personal rendition of Amazing Grace just now for Sue Regalis, I think we're all thinking of our memories of her, and someone who was more enthusiastic than anyone I know about Stellafane. I first met Sue at the Syracuse Summer Seminar back in 1990, and I remember her enthusiasm and her just love of the field. And every year at Stellafane, in her younger days, you could always tell where Sue was. It was the loudest wow and the loudest cheer whenever a new object would come into the telescope would always come from Sue's section. And that always stayed right until the end. Last year, I saw Sue. Some of you may remember that she was on duty at the entrance. This is really possibly the last public thing that Sue did for Stellafane, was that she prevented the riffraff from coming into Stellafane, and boy, she did a good job. And around 7 o'clock last year on Saturday, my family, my wife and my sister-in-law and my other sister-in-law were coming up, and they came and stopped, and Sue came out to them, and they said, "Yes, can I help you?" And Wendy said, "Well, I'm David Levy's wife, and this is David Levy's sister-in-law, and this is David Levy's other sister-in-law." And she said, "Oh, yeah?" And she said, well, Wendy said, "Yeah, well, don't you recognize me, Sue?" And Sue said, "I've been told that 3 very special ladies are coming to hear the Shadowgram tonight. And that these very special ladies are nice looking, pretty intelligent. But what I'm seeing here in the car are 3 of the most gorgeous and brilliant people that I've ever seen in my life. So you cannot possibly be David Levy's wife and David Levy's sister-in-law." And the group of us are standing behind that little shack just cracking up. Sue has handled the practical joke so beautifully and so well. And then we all had a good laugh, and thank you, but Wendy and Tony and Gail did get a chance to get in to hear the Shadowgram for what it was worth last year. I think it was her last practical joke, perhaps. And it was only a couple of weeks after Stellafane, it was not long after, that I heard, 2 or 3 days after Stellafane. I did also notice that particular year that trying to get the practical joke started, that she was a little bit more subdued, a little more serious than usual. And I wondered if anything was wrong, anything was amiss. But we had so much fun with that practical joke, and I just loved it. Generations, the memories of Stellafane were here when Natalie, an absolutely magnificent version of Amazing Grace that was performed this evening, was something that I think Sue would have really appreciated, but not just Sue. Walter Scott Houston and Miriam and Russell Porter and all of those who have come before us, thinking about the generations of Stellafane. This talk is called the Shadowgram, and the Shadowgram is designed to test a mirror. It is designed as the final test when a mirror is done to make sure that the mirror is absolutely perfect. And so it's been a tradition over many years. Scotty Houston did the Shadowgram for a long, long time, to kind of take a Shadowgram to Stellafane and just wonder at how perfect Stellafane has become. It's never completely perfect because the generations come and the generations go. Russell Porter, Walter Scott Houston, the list would clearly go on and on. Roger Tuttle. But Sue's family is here in the audience tonight, I understand, and it goes on. And it goes on as much as possible. And of all the members of our family, of the different families that come, we have a junior award that is given to someone in the next generation who has built something, who has taken it upon herself or himself to build a telescope all by oneself that is going to really inspire somebody. Not just the builder, but the builder's family, the builder's young friends, and years from now, the builder's children. Isn't this, in a way, what Stellafane is all about? Well, 50. About an hour ago when our event began, questions was asked how many people have been here, 50 Stellafanes, and I counted 2. Let me know if there were more than one. And one of them was Al Nagler, who is there, here in the audience. And I remember Al coming here in 1981, and I remember him showing an eyepiece of his. And everyone laughed. That was the year the whole conference laughed. I think Scotty even made a joke at his Shadowgram that we finally have an eyepiece that weighs more than the telescope. We laughed. Boy, is that going to be a fly-by-night. Here we are, all these years later, generations happening. We have now a generation that was just being born back in the early 80s that has grown up on the Nagler eyepieces, on the fact that nobody laughs when the most important thing that you can get in a telescope is the best of everything. Not just the mirror, not just the secondary, not just the care and collimation and construction and ingenuity, but the final little step, that eyepiece you put in it at the end, has got to be the very best you can get. And I think more than anyone else, Al Nagler, who has been here now, on and off, mostly. I think your first one, Al, was 55. But he has showed us the importance of that final step to perfection of the eyepiece. Congratulations, Al. When I started in astronomy, I always wanted to do things backwards, and I was really impressed with Robert Frost's poem, The Road Less Traveled. I took the road less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. I think all of us who have taken care to come up on the Stellafane roads, following the signs, getting into the dirt, getting here, have taken the road less traveled. But I think none so more than a friend of mine named Constantine Papakosmos. And I need to talk with you a little bit about him. And I know he's a little bit shy, but if you could, Constantine, maybe come a little bit so people can see you. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about him. He's very shy, maybe not. But Constantine is here also 50 years, but not just 50 years. His first Stellafane was in 1957. Constantine, you have not missed one since 1957. Montreal, Canada. First time I walked into the observatory of the Montreal Center, October 8th, 1960, I met this young guy, Constantine, and a few weeks later, I was walking to school, and this car with no starter and barely a motor goes putting down the street. About half a mile away from me, it stops just solidly on the screeching to a halt on the street, puts it in reverse, and the car starts backing up as fast as it had screeched down. Hi, David. Are you going to the observatory this Saturday? We were all there, and in those days, you were either a telescope maker or an observer. Constantine always tried to tell me that we could do both, and that you should go to Stellafane some year. He pushed it, and he pushed it all over Canada. And many years, Canadians win a lot of the awards, including this year. And I think that the person who was responsible for turning Stellafane into a national event, in large part for Canada, was Constantine Papakosmas. But this is what it is about generations. This is what it is about somebody who feels so strongly about an event that he or she will, regardless of anything, not miss Stellafane. Generations. I'd like to end with one final generation, someone whom I hope is going to be here many, many more years. It's her third Stellafane, I believe. About 3 months ago, I was observing with my granddaughter Summer and my grandson Matt, and Matt was really interested in looking at the objects in the sky, the constellations. Summer was a little more in depth. Matt is 4 right now, Summer is 8. And on that particular evening, I set up my very first telescope. It was a 3.5-inch sky scope. And I asked her to take a look at what was inside. Obviously, it was the planet Saturn. If you want to get a 9-year-old and a 4-year-old really into astronomy, you can't do much better than Saturn. And she looked at Saturn, and she asked questions about the ring. She asked questions about the planet. She asked questions about the orbit. And I'm thinking, Summer, this is not a PhD oral. I mean, you know, I can't answer all these questions. How about if I show you M42? And she said, okay. I showed her M42, and she looked at it, hummed and hawed, and said, are there any other planets? Well, I went and showed her Jupiter, and she looked at it. She's asking questions about the bands, and what are those little moons? Tell me about those stars. And she wouldn't stop with the planet. Are there any other planets? We can try Uranus, but it's not up yet. Neither is Neptune. Pluto is up, but it is, and then she said, Pluto is a planet, right? Yes. And this went on for a while. And then the observing session ended. I forgot about it. And I got this in the mail from Summer's mom, Annette, a few weeks ago, and it was an essay that she had written weeks later, or days later, for her 2nd grade class. Astronomer Summer. I am an astronomer. I look at my telescope. One night, I saw a new planet, and I was very scared. I called all my friends, and they saw that planet too. It was very bright, and it was so beautiful. I named that planet Bright Spring. The next morning, when I read the newspaper, and I saw my name in the newspaper, and I saw the name of the planet, I was so excited. When I was looking in my telescope that night, I saw the Bright Spring, and I loved that name for my very own planet. The next day, while I was walking, I still saw my planet, but finally, my planet was gone. And I was very, very sad that I didn't see it anymore. Summer, you are, and Matthew, you are the next generation. And may you and your generation make sure that the spirit of Russell Porter, the spirit of Constantine, who has been here all these 50 years, the spirit of all of us who are here tonight will live on forever. Thank you.